Hello everybody, I'm Azortharion, and in this video I'm going to go over some information about the new patch 11.1.7 Delve belt called the Durable Information Storage Container. So it starts at eye level 678 and it ends at eye level 699. I'm not completely sure about what the eye level steps are between those two, but I made a best guess for my sims in this video. They're available from the new Overcharged Delves, which is sort of this affix system for certain delves like Creekvault's Rest, Glittering Breach, Spiral Weave, Nightfall Sanctum, Fungal Folly, and Side Street Sluice. And the affixes are mostly just new enemies and more traps. I imagine that it won't be too challenging of a bit of content. If it ends up being quite challenging, I'll make a video on how you should do it as a hunter and stuff. In this video, I'm going to go over the approximate DPS gain of the new belt, all of the powers that you can get with it. It's basically sort of just the latest and greatest within the realm of borrowed power. You know, there's some stat procs, there's some damage procs, and so on. Whether it's BiS, and at what eye level it becomes BiS. That's basically it. So, few disclaimers first. Obviously, Sims are almost certain to have a wrongful implementation of some of these effects, probably small details. Tuning is likely to happen both before and after the patch, because the results look a little bit underwhelming. And I imagine that they would want it to be a bit stronger, or maybe it's a bit more of a catch-up for lower geared characters. I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments. And if things change a lot between now and patch drop, either in terms of, sim implementation and theory crafting, or if that actually just changes in-game and I have to make a new video, then I'll do so. And my written guides on Icy Veins for all 3 hunter specs and my marksmanship Wowhead hunter guide will also be updated with new information on patch drop. So you won't be left in the dark. Into the details of the belt. So it has the powers Charge Crystal, which is like a split AoE. You just randomly shoot a thing and it explodes for split AoE damage. Then you have 1 proc for each of the secondary stats. So you have a Critical Train, which is this crit proc that starts low and then ends high. Spark Burst, which is just a straight haste proc that just gives haste. Cool. Electric Current, which is a mastery proc thing or like a passive effect that cycles up and down. So it starts low, goes up high, then goes down again. Then you have Static Charge, which is a versatility proc that is reduced with spells cast. So it gives you a ton of versatility up front. And every time you cast a spell, you lose 5% of that proc. So this one actually looks like the best one currently. It is a little bit sensitive to sim implementation thing, because it's a little bit unclear what counts as a spell cast that reduces the thing. So I'm sure there will be some BS with some spells that clearly should count, not counting, and some spells that don't count, or that count that clearly shouldn't. So this will be a little bit of a moving target, I imagine, but currently, with the way the sims are implemented as of today, it is the best one for pretty much all situations. The cool thing about it being versatility, of course, is that it also gives a healthy amount of damage reduction. And finally, we have Charged Bolts, which is basically dot on a random target within 40 yards. This one is pretty dookie, especially in AoE, because the fact that it's a random target means that there's a decent chance it'll go into something completely worthless. The random target effect's just bad. So I run the sims here, and this is when you should actually equip it, so based on eye level and stuff. So Marksmanship should equip it at 691 eye level in single target, and for Mythic Plus it equips it a bit sooner at 687 eye level. Beast Mastery should equip it basically as soon as you get it for single target, and for Mythic Plus it requires 1 upgrade step to 681 eye level to be worth using. For single target Survival, it should be used at 684 item level, and for Mythic Plus it's around 681 eye level. For the most part, for most people, it won't be BiS right away. At the moment you get it, it will take a few upgrade steps. As I'm right here, the error bars here are fairly wide. What do I mean by that? Which is like, this is just based on one character's particular set of stats and so on, like a sort of a BiS geared character. It may be quite different for you, so I highly recommend simming it. When the patch goes live, I'm sure raid bots will have, in the top gear section, a very easy way to just sim this stuff. It'll just be like, you just select that belt and then you can select different eye level steps and so on. The main takeaway here is that the belt is BiS and that it doesn't take too many upgrade steps for the most part for it to reach that BiS status. Alright, so I've run some sims here for the overall power gain. Now, these are... they're pretty hard to read, I'm not gonna lie. So you don't have to... This is mainly just to show you that I've done the work. I've simmed every single power at every single eye level step, at least my presumed eye level steps, for all 3 specs on both single target and AoE. So the baseline build here is basically a BiS geared character, and I've set the belt they used to be a BiS crafted belt with the best stats. And that's just to basically ensure like a really an equivalent baseline between all three specs. I know that a BiS belt is not necessarily optimal. A crafted belt is not necessarily optimal for all three specs, but that's the way I've gone about it, just to set a firm sort of baseline. And usually a BiS crafted 681 eye level and crafted belt is usually very roughly equivalent to like the best 684 eye level belt that you could get. And finally, here are the power gains for single target and AoE. For Beast Mastery, you're looking at roughly 1.3% power gain going from sort of a current BiS belt or at least crafted belt to the new belt. Marksmanship gains much less at 0.5%, and survival is somewhere in between at roughly 0.9%. These are mostly mirrored on AoE, so BM still gains 1.3%, MM gains a little bit more on AoE at 0.7%, and survival still gains around 1%. So this is at 699 eye level, and so these gains are fairly small and underwhelming. I mean, consider how many weeks that you will have to invest in, doing some content to actually upgrade this belt. It'll barely break even sort of halfway through the process, and by the end of it, once you've done all of that stuff and it's finally 699 eye level, you are gaining like 1% or so on average, depending on your spec. It's quite underwhelming, so I fully expect to have to do another video like one of those. And that means it's a great idea for you to sub. That's pretty much it. Just some plugs here. You can get access to my whole Hunter universe and support everything I do here, which is basically my full time. And my Patreon at patreon.com/Azortharion. You get my Hunter UI, weak auras, and the Hunter Compendium, which has the best builds and the tips and tricks for every raid boss and every Mythic Plus key. And at the higher tiers of Patreon, you can actually get personalized log and VOD reviews from me. Like I'll literally make a video where I just look at your VODs and logs and tell you what you could do better. That's a pretty insane value, in my opinion. I also do personal one-on-one coaching, both via the Patreon at a cheaper rate, but also like as a one-off thing. And finally, whether you're a sub or not, you should join my Discord because you can just ping me there if you have any questions. And I literally answer everyone who's in there because I'm just that size of content creator where I do actually have the time to address every single one person in my audience. And the same goes for the comments. So if you like this sort of content, if you want to stay updated on how to get the most out of your hunter in the future, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.